Hello everyone, my name is Alex.
And my name is Robert.
And we are your Mugiwara Authority, your source for all things One Piece and One Piece related. So, the date is July 23rd. The chapter 754 just came out entitled, Pleased to Make Your Acquaintance. Now, we've been off for a month. So we have two more chapters to go over, 753 Battle and 752 Palm.
We'll just go through all of that.
Yeah, we're just going to cover all that material today. What I want to cover first, though, is the whole catchphrase that we have for this podcast, your source for all things One Piece and One Piece related.
We're probably going to have to change that a little bit.
We're probably going to have to brainstorm a little, because basically we talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. No, we love One Piece. We're here to talk about One Piece.
And that's kind of the theme of the whole podcast.
We're going to talk about the new chapters. We're going to talk about every story ever at the end. But we're going to talk about whatever the fuck we want in between that. And
we're going to try to relate it to One Piece, but we're going to be talking about more than just One Piece.
That's just the way my brain works. I want to talk about One Piece in regards to other things, but if we want to talk about Batman, we're going to talk about Batman. You know, if we want to talk, we just saw the new X-Men movie again. Well, I did. Oh, he did. We both did. We both saw the new X-Men movie again. And if we want to talk about that, we totally will. But starters, let's go over the new material. Robert, okay. What did you think about these 3 new chapters? What?
Okay.
It's only 60 pages, Robert. It's only a month's worth of material. Is it overwhelming to you?
Not really.
No, I know.
Okay, so,
you want to go chapter by chapter, or do you want to just, in bulk, we'll just go over it all?
We could probably just do in bulk, but at the same time, like, chapter by chapter, I think might be best. So, like, let's start, like we can start with the 752 and then just work our way. And if we decide to talk about the future stuff, then we'll do that.
Okay, well, we kind of just skimmed the last couple chapters because, you know, it's been a couple weeks since we read them. So 752 Palm, neither of us...
I have no idea what that's referring to. Like, the only thing that I can think of is that, like, maybe everybody's dancing on the palm of Doflamingo's hand right now, or something like that.
Like Doflamingo has the situation in the palm of his hand. Like,
yeah.
Like Luffy is doing whatever he wants, that kind of thing. And that seems logical. So, what happened in this chapter specifically?
This is when they've just been trapped, right?
Yeah.
At the very beginning, like, there's the Doflamingo clone there. We find out it's a Doflamingo clone, so we were right about that.
Yeah, we didn't think that was Doflamingo. This raises a really interesting question in that these clones are sentient.
Yeah, they seem to be...
And you had a theory that kind of correlates with that.
Yeah, like, basically what happens is later on, I don't remember if it's later on in this chapter or in the next chapter, but Doflamingo's talking, and it almost seems like he doesn't know what his clones are doing.
Yeah, I got that in this chapter, I believe. I was reading it, and it was like he didn't really even know where his clone was and what it was doing.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, the clone should be out there doing whatever.
It was strange. Like in Dragon Ball, when King Piccolo makes his like minions, you know, like Symbol and Drum, and he sends them out there to go collect the Dragon Balls and kill Goku and the other martial artists. When they die, you see King Piccolo, and he's hurting. He goes,
yeah.
That is like the opposite of what's going on with Doflamingo and his string clones. He has no idea. Like, his string clone just got killed by Jet and Abdullah, and he had
no idea that he was gone. He thought he was still out doing whatever he got to do.
Weirder, he didn't even know the string clone was basically going to fight Luffy. Like, he was there to fight Luffy.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So, I don't know. Yeah.
So when he was a string clone before and he fought Luffy, it was like he wasn't really in control.
It was like 2 completely different people.
It's weird. That's hard to wrap your mind around. Like, what kind of power gives you the power to create sentience?
Apparently string.
I wonder if he has a god complex because of that.
It could be, because he's already kind of like some sort of chaotic god. He's almost like a Loki.
Yeah, I can see that. Like a trickster god?
Yeah.
Well, and again, I don't want to step on your theory, so you mention your theory.
Okay. Like, I don't know how much validity this theory has, but basically it kind of came to my mind when Doflamingo was like, oh yeah, like, the clone's out there doing whatever, but the clone is dead. The idea that his clones can have sentience kind of made me think that maybe when he's talking about his brother Corazon, it's not a literal thing, it's not like literally his brother, but a sentient clone that he had created from his ability. So almost another him.
Maybe it was the first one.
Yeah, so like the first clone that he created from his ability, he didn't really have complete control over what he created, so it didn't turn out to be exactly like him.
Maybe when you use that ability, you almost have to put limits on it, like how Sugar has to say, like, okay, well, this is what you're going to do as a toy. Maybe when you make a clone, you have to say, like, you're this type of clone. You're basically me. Go out and do my bidding.
Exactly.
But maybe he didn't put those restrictions on this clone, so it lived its own life, and it grew compassionate, and it grew it grew its own relationships with people.
Yeah, and so it grew into this other character, which would be Corazon.
Yeah. And that would make sense that Doflamingo would kill that, because you'd imagine it's like looking into a mirror and seeing
what you hate.
Yeah, seeing yourself in a way that you don't want to see yourself.
Exactly. So it would literally be like his heart.
We were talking earlier about this. We were worried that Usi had died. I was worried that Usi had died.
I was completely
confident
that Usi was alive. That Jet and Abdullah were with Usi.
Well, you are correct. So all is right with the world. I'm happy.
Usi is never gonna die.
Jet and Abdullah also saved the day, which is awesome. Of these minor kind of characters that we've met in the Coliseum, they're two of the fun ones for sure. And I feel like these last few chapters, I was the one that complained about not loving a lot of these characters from the Coliseum, and I think it was our last podcast, or it was recent.
Yeah.
But quickly, I'm enjoying a lot of these characters. Now, there's still some that are pretty flat, but man.
Oh. That brings us to one of our other theories from last podcast, that we have no idea what alliance the Funk Brothers have.
Yeah, now
now we know that they were kind of acting in self-interest.
Yeah, exactly. They were working for themselves. They were trying to get that bounty, which, whatever, man.
Hey, whatever floats your boat. But at the same time, it's just one of those things like they were. It's.
I'm actually on that page right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that Doflamingo's clone attacks the Funk Brothers then. Because they're kind of trying to capture.
Well, later on when he's in there, he's kind of just joking around. Haha, I saved you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He is.
So he's kind of just dicking with them.
When you have a character like Doflamingo, you could kind of always veil what he's gonna do in that way. Like you could always say like, well, he's crazy.
Exactly.
That's basically the gist of what we're saying. Well, he's fucking crazy. Of course he did that. He's crazy. So basically, there's that. We're seeing all the people from the Coliseum come together. Like, for the first time, they are starting to work together and unite in trying to take on the Doflamingo family.
Yeah.
And Luffy makes his shortcut with the elephant gun, which is awesome.
That was crazy. It literally became a shortcut.
If life doesn't give you a shortcut, you just punch it really hard. Yeah. And then you make a shortcut. That's what One Piece is all about.
Oh, man.
What's the guy's name who makes things explode?
I can't recall his name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I just know that his ability, he keeps using, like, punk and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I don't really like him very much.
Do you think he's derivative of Mr. 5?
A little bit, but not so much his ability, because, like, we had this discussion before, like, Mr. 5's ability, was it Mr. 5?
I believe it was Mr. 5.
Yeah. His ability is more limited to, like, he can make, like, his body waste explode.
Yeah.
Whereas, like...
Or kind of he can make his own body explode. Like, he could...
Oh, he can?
Yeah, he could, he clotheslined, I think it was Usopp, and then just made his arm explode. Like, he could make himself explode.
Did his entire arm explode?
I don't recall.
Or, like, did he lose his arm?
I might actually have it on me. Oh, no, I don't. No, he didn't. He didn't lose his arm. But yeah, he would, like, flick his booger, he would breathe into a barrel and shoot it, and it would explode.
Yeah, I know that, but, like... Okay, when it comes to that, then that kind of makes it a little bit more derivative, then.
Well, also, this guy, he could, like...
Like, I know he can make other things explode.
He could, like, touch things. Like, he's like Gambit. We were talking about that last night, actually.
He's a little like Gambit or Bambi from Bleach.
Okay. So,
like, he can make other things explode, but at the same time, he can make himself explode without suffering any damage. Where if that's really the only difference that the two have, then they kind of have basically the same ability, which is kind of weird to me.
Yeah, it is weird.
Unless Mr. 5 is dead.
And there's that fat guy, Tun Man, or whatever the fuck his name is.
I feel sorry for the youngest grandson.
Also slightly derivative of, I forget her name, but she was the Baroque Works agent who could control her weight. She could be as light as a feather and then crushed down by gaining...
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? One Piece is really long, and at some point, you're going to have certain abilities that are kind of similar to other people's abilities. I mean, his isn't even a devil fruit ability, though. He's just a really fat guy. He's a big fat dude.
No, his is an ability.
Is it an ability to devil fruit?
I think so.
Huh, okay.
Because he's not normally that heavy, but he just makes himself really, really heavy.
I feel like hers is one of the most underutilized devil fruits, because she could punch somebody and make her hand weigh as much as the sun while she's punching them, you know?
And then their face just implodes.
Like just in that instant, she could
Yeah.
she could be gravity. If she could control her weight, she could have the earth revolve around her.
But there might be some unforeseen side effects of doing something like that.
Well, you have to hone your ability too. She probably just wasn't very good at it. Like, you have to be... I think what I like about One Piece and powers is that your powers give you as much like strength as you put into them and how creative you are.
Yeah.
And it's not very creative to be like, oh, I could weigh a lot, so I'm going to sit on you. Like, that's like...
Which is basically what Tun guy is doing.
Yeah, essentially.
Which, I like I said earlier...
It also reminds me of that guy on Skypiea that fought Robin. Remember that guy? He's like the really big priest, and he had the impact dials on his, like, around his waist.
I don't, actually.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, he was...
Let's see, I when I think the priests, I remember the ball guy.
He wasn't a priest, but he did work for Enel, and he had a title. I just can't remember it.
Oh, okay. Because the only the characters I remember the ball guy, and I remember
he wasn't
the
one of
dog.
the four priests. Yeah.
So okay.
Also in this chapter, we get the whole thing with the Tontada. We get Rebecca, Robin, and Bartolomeo. And I love this scene where they start jumping, flying across
I just like
the city.
the reaction before that. It's like, no, don't do it!
I say this every time me and you talk about the scene, but I really hope the anime gets this right, because it's really pretty and it's going to look really cool. And of course, Robert made it all pervy because he was like, "Is Rebecca wearing anything under that?"
No, she isn't. She isn't. So I kind of feel bad for her. Well, in a sense,
good for everybody below. Whatever.
And that's why Zoro was able to cut Pika in half.
So, we're not at that chapter yet, Robert.
It doesn't matter.
You're jumping ahead. Just in the future.
I said we would jump ahead.
All right. Also in this chapter, we get a rehash scene, and I think Oda just loved the scene so much that he just wanted us to see it again. So we got,
or he's just getting suplexed again.
We got Senor Pink suplexing Frankie, which, I mean, I'm not going to get tired of that. You could keep doing that. It's the panel that I would show somebody to show them what One Piece is all about. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's basically the definition of this arc by this point.
Pretty much.
It's like, oh, there's a giant baby man suplexing a cyborg with a gun-shaped hairpiece.
Wearing Speedos.
It's like, what is going on?
That's One Piece, bitch. You know?
Exactly.
What are you going to do?
And then what happened? What was the next thing that happened?
Well, that's sort of a part of a page that's like hyping the fights. So it's sort of showing Sabo and Fujitora, and it's showing Pika and Zoro, and then we move on to the Doflamingo family talking.
Yeah, we get the little flashback.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then that leads into, of course, the page basically of a flashback. It's just a young
Law with grenades strapped to him.
So he had a rough childhood, I think. I think it was I mean, I did that sort of thing, but I was just a hardcore bitch. So
right.
Yeah. No, really though.
You know, I have to say that I like how Oda's handling the flashbacks in this arc.
Yeah, they've been really solid. Like
they've been really short, solid, concise flashbacks.
If you felt kind of cold from the Fishman Island flashbacks, I feel like this is much leaner storytelling.
Yeah,
these flashbacks. There's way less fat. They're much more emotional. Like, this page of young Law is as strong as anything in Fishman Island. Maybe stronger. Like, it's powerful. Like, we care about Law at this point. So seeing this, it's like, you actually want the flashback. I want a little bit more. Like, I'm curious a little bit more about this.
I almost don't. I don't want. Well, I want Oda to keep doing like what he's doing right now. Is just these little flashbacks that kind of give us a peek into the past without explaining too much, because it has to do like with how involved Doflamingo might end up being in those flashbacks.
Yeah, we've talked about that, sort of how we don't want to know too much about Doflamingo, but if the flashback is revolving around a young Law and Corazon, I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. That's sort of, honestly, that's sort of a strength of One Piece. One Piece is strong in that it gives you the meat of a character in the flashback, and that's how you learn how to love them.
Like, I'd probably be more, what's the word I'm looking for? accepting. Whatever. I'd probably be okay if it was kind of like a Kairos' flashback.
Okay.
Where it was a relatively short flashback, concise. There wasn't anything unnecessary, really. And like if Oda does that with Law's flashback and Corazon stuff like that, and we don't see too much unnecessary information about Doflamingo's past, then I think it would be beneficial to Law as a character and his relationship with Corazon without affecting our kind of perceptions of Doflamingo too much.
Like at this point, I think when we get flashbacks, it's sort of Oda's way of saying this character matters enough that he deserves a flashback.
Right.
Like, would you expect more from Law in the future if we do get a full-on flashback, like a couple chapters worth of a flashback? Would you make you kind of go like, well, he's going to matter a lot for the rest of the series? Maybe not necessarily as a Straw Hat, that would be weird, but in some capacity, he's going to affect the world by the end of by the outcome of One Piece. Like, when it's all said and done, he's going to matter a lot.
I think just by having that one little flashback that we've had, it already shows that he's a very important character.
Well, I think undeniably he's important. I mean, he's
like,
one of the premier characters of the worst generation.
Right, but I mean, like, that one little flashback kind of, like what you were saying, like, if he gets a full-fledged flashback later on or whatever, or a couple more pages later on, would that kind of give us that perception of Law? I think that one little short panel
it's enough.
Already does that.
You know what? In a way, I kind of agree. If Oda left it at that, we never got any more of young Law. I mean, it would be a little disappointing, and at the same time, I would think that was kind of masterful. Like, wow, like we got just this little taste, but that's all we needed.
It's like we got this little peek into his past, and from that we're able to determine his path into what he's become.
The archetype of Law isn't very similar to Doflamingo, and at the same time, I think there is a certain mystery to him, and I think that suits him well. Like,
yeah.
You see him on panel, and you look at him, and you don't necessarily understand everything about him, and in my eyes, that's a good thing for him. So maybe we don't need more. Maybe he's good where he is. You know, generally, we could assume he's a good guy, but he's got some weird motives, and characters with different motives...
He's also a very shrewd character.
Characters with different motives is a good thing.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like these people are playing for different sides, you know, and it's interesting.
It kind of makes them feel more like people as well, though.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the end of Chapter 752. Going into 753, we haven't talked about the cover story at all, where we do know for sure Jinbei...
Knew it! Called it! Aha!
Robert called it. Jinbei is on the move. He found a kitty, a sea kitty. And then I love this so much. Oh my god! There is a police sea dog.
Sea policeman.
He's the sea beast sheriff. He's got a badge and it says police. He's got a handlebar mustache, and he's got a policeman's hat. I mean, I can't tell you how happy I am that thing exists in One Piece world. Like, that is so great. That's so great. How haven't we seen so much? I hope there's plenty. Oh my god, it's great. There's even a police station behind him.
It is, yeah.
It's great. Oh
Underwater police station. He's wearing the sheriff's badge and everything, police badge.
This cover story is making Jinbei so much more charming to me right away. Like, he is helping a sea kitty, by talking to a sea sheriff dog thing. Oh my god, it's all awesome. It's great.
You pointed this out too. That could be the same sea cat thing, sea kitten, whatever, that we saw in Alabasta, right?
Well, I can't say
or
if it's
something
the same,
something similar.
Well, it's a species of cat.
Yeah.
Because they were going to eat it, because that's what Straw Hats do. And Vivi stopped them because it's sacred to her people. So again, of course that goes with the motif of it's Egyptian and all that. But yeah,
hey, maybe that cat was his.
When I look at the sea cat, it absolutely reminds me of that cat. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the panel to really make sure.
Yeah.
But it's the closest thing in One Piece from the past that I could imagine in One Piece today. Anyway, so I love this little cover story so far. It's pretty great. Just wanted to say that because we haven't given it any props yet.
Giving it some props.
So what do you think of 753, Robert? 753 Battle, which is, the name.
Let's see.
It's a little bit easier to wrap your head around than Palm. Like,
it makes a little bit more sense. Well, it's like Battle
fighting.
or what was it? Battle or War in the manga stream translation.
I'm not sure, but okay.
I think this one we were like, oh hey, here it's called Battle. Why is it called War over here?
Oh, you're right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Now. Okay.
So, But yeah, I like Bellamy confronting Doflamingo right here, just because we're kind of getting a little bit more like of Bellamy's characterization. Like up until this point, he's been a little bit conflicted, I want to say.
Okay. I mean, I feel like we needed a little bit of Bellamy because it's almost like why do you care so much? Like why do you want to please this person so much? I think he looks up to Doflamingo as a hero almost. Like that's what it feels like. Like he wants to be him, you know?
Yeah.
It ain't happening.
Not really. And
No.
we get that whole saying like, you wanted to be a pirate or whatever, but I didn't care. I don't care as long as I get to like destroy or wreck the world, whatever the translation turns out to be.
Yeah, that was a fascinating line. It really plays into Doflamingo's character in the chaotic sense. Like, I feel like I've used that word almost too much to describe him, but it's very clear that that's his archetype.
At the same time, though, his whole character, like, he's supposed to be kind of a chaotic character and stuff like that, but he's almost playing into kind of like he's almost kind of falling into the status quo or whatever. He doesn't like things that perturb his plans too much.
Do you think that... I think that's a real-world phenomenon. When people classify themselves as not something, you're still being classified by that thing. So when you say, I'm an atheist, you're classifying yourself as something that is not something else. When in reality, you don't need to do that. You don't. My parallel in life has always been, you don't classify yourself as somebody who doesn't believe in Santa Claus. Like, you don't say, like, I'm not a Santa Claus believer. There's no word for that, because it doesn't fucking exist.
Yes, he does.
No, I'm saying, like, there's no group of people out there saying, like, we're not Santa Claus believers, because nobody gives a shit.
All adults.
So if you genuinely are an atheist, you don't care, you don't believe in God, why do you even have to name it? So by Doflamingo being anti-authority or anti-establishment, or just living in a realm of chaos, maybe he's defining himself more than he should anyway.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that, like, just this whole turn of events and all that stuff, everybody that's opposing him and his goals and stuff like that, he's kind of become the authoritative figure that's trying to enforce a particular...
Well, he's descended from a monarchy.
He is, but he also left and killed his entire family.
True. Including his brother. Okay.
Clone.
Yeah. We don't know yet, okay?
We'll see.
That's the exciting
bit.
Well,
we may see. We may never know.
I don't want to be that guy. But any chance that Law was in love with Corazon? Like, any chance it was, like... Do you get that kind of, that weird vibe at all?
I get almost more of a father figure.
Oh.
Because it seems like Law didn't have a family at the point of time that he joined the Doflamingo crew.
Okay. I can see that.
So, like, Doflamingo killing Corazon would be like killing Law's father.
Was Corazon the heart on the...
Yes.
Okay. And then Law was going to be the heart.
Yeah.
I see. That's awesome. Okay, and then we get... So basically, the Colosseum not soldiers, but
the fighters and all that stuff. Yeah, the gladiators.
The gladiators, exactly. Now they're all teaming up and they are taking on the Don Quixote family. And Dillinger is just tearing motherfuckers to pieces. It's great.
Suleiman just got owned.
Dillinger is absolutely one of my favorite henchmen. I mean, he's just oozing sinister.
He's very creepy.
And he's got just so much charisma.
So creepy.
Honestly, I'm enjoying his panel time as much, maybe more so than Doflamingo. I feel like he's stealing some of the spotlight. He's so good. He's so awesome.
Just that
I liked him when he was when he was kicking Bellamy. Do you remember that? Back in the when he was just fucking kicking him. I liked him already, but now he's going second form Frieza and all these bitches and fucking just impaling them
with his head,
with his horns on his head.
So there's that face is just creepy.
So he's smirking, and there's blood running down his horns.
There's another one that's similar to that, but he's kind of like licking his face.
On the bottom left panel of the page where he's impaling, what's his name? Suleiman. And it's great. He's great. I love Dillinger. He's wearing high heels. He's just a fucking creepy guy. It's great.
It's very creepy.
This was right after they talked about how many people Suleiman had killed, right? They're like, oh, he's a bad dude. And then, of course, he's just fodder, basically.
Poor Suleiman. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more from him.
Well, some people got to be fodder. You know, that's life. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Was he in the huge panel at the end of the chapter?
I don't know. We'll get there. We're kind of skimming the chapter as we speak, also.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I was looking forward to more from him, but he kind of got cut down pretty quickly.
Honestly, he seemed like one of those characters that would to me. Like, he didn't seem like, but One Piece is weird.
He had a cool design, though.
He had a cool design, but that's
I
all.
liked his design.
I feel like Oda almost he likes giving more screen time to the characters with the weird designs rather than the cool design. Like, I don't think he's much of a cool design person.
That's a good point.
Anyway, yeah, more of the fighting. We get Baby 5 and the guy who looks like the villain from Sonic the Hedgehog. What's his name?
Basically, he looks like Dr. Robotnik.
Dr. Robotnik. But he's awesome. Like, within these 3 chapters, he's developed into a character that we all think is pretty cool.
He's kind of grown on me.
Yeah, me too.
The tactician Dagama.
Yeah, I quite like him. And I like Baby 5 too, so that's an exciting panel. I mean, and then we get Laoji and he's fighting. Lots of just chaos, really.
Yeah.
That's the time in this arc.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because it's like there's all this chaos, all this chaotic fighting in these events going on and all that stuff. And then Dagama comes out of nowhere and organizes the I guess you could say the rebels that are aiding Luffy. He organizes them, and he just like all of the gladiators are now fighting kind of in a more structured way. So it's like he's taken advantage of the chaos to kind of reorganize.
I feel like Luffy's very presence also has an impact on that. Like, I feel like Luffy just being involved is kind of giving them somewhere to be collective around.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like a natural leadership position.
Skimming through these chapters, I feel like Oda has like plot points that he hits in certain arcs, and I'm not saying this is too indicative of past arcs, but we definitely have hit these moments before where there's chaos and wars breaking loose and people are fighting. How do you feel this stacks up both as a piece of storytelling and emotionally compared to things like the breakout in Arabasta, or the battle between the priests and the heavenly soldiers and the Shandians, or all those things, the 10,000 strong at Fishman Island? How do you feel this matches up to those types of things?
Can you refine that question real quick?
Okay, what I'm trying to say is this is not really new territory for a One Piece arc. And it's similar in my eyes to
the other arcs, like
Arabasta, where where Crocodile creates the war. Or Skypia, where we have like basically it's like this creepy
civil war.
Well, it's there's the heavenly soldiers under Enel. And then, of course, there's the Shandians.
Yeah.
And then there's the Straw Hats also. And they're all kind of fighting at once. And it's that whole thing where Enel's going like, in so many hours, there will be 5 left. That whole thing.
Yeah.
You know? And then, of course, there's the 10,000 at Fishman Island. Or is it 100,000? 100,000.
Is it? Oh, yeah, because, sorry.
And Luffy takes out 50,000.
Luffy took out 50,000.
Yeah. So I feel like this is not totally new. Not in a bad way, but just how do you feel like this matches up to those types of things? Does it feel strong to you?
If I compare it to the others, how do I feel in terms of...
You don't necessarily have to rank them, but do you think that this is quality One Piece compared to those? Do you think it's better than some, worse than others? I'm just curious.
I think it actually does it pretty well.
Enies Lobby, of course, too. All the soldiers, Luffy fucking taking out like 30,000 of them or some crazy shit.
Luffy.
It's
actually I almost kind of like how it's progressing, because like you look at those earlier ones and like, you know, they might have had a hand in taking down some of the people, the Straw Hats, all that. They might have had a hand in taking down some of the fodder, and then you get further and further on, and it's like Luffy at Enies Lobby takes down 30,000, and Fishman Island takes down 50,000 or whatever. And now we get to this arc right here, and he's not doing any of that. It's like the lower ranked people, or the not necessarily affiliated, like his allies that are helping him by taking out all the fodder so that he can go take on what needs to be taken on.
That's sort of similar to Arabasta, I suppose. I don't think he really fought in any war. Like, he was so focused on Crocodile the whole time. Like, he was just running towards Crocodile every chance he got. And he kept getting hurt. He'd be out of action for a while. And then he'd come back and he'd fight Crocodile. So, I mean, I think this stands up to any of those in the way that there's so many colorful characters that we see. Like, in the ensuing chaos, we're getting a lot of characters that we know, and we're like excited, like, oh, Don Chinjao's just gonna fucking smash his head into somebody, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that guy's gonna make some shit explode or whatever. Like, it's in a way it's stronger because a lot of characters have a little bit of development, and seeing them interact is a lot of fun.
To me, personally...
Where for Arabasta, for example, or Enies Lobby, there's a lot of, like, faceless soldiers and rebels kind of fighting each other kind of thing.
To me, it does it better than, say, like the Paramount War, where we got all these different all these different characters, all these unique designs and stuff like that, and then we didn't really see much of them, or we saw only a few of them or whatever that actually did something important, or when a particular character did something we didn't care. But I find myself caring a little bit more what the side characters do here.
Man, you know what? It's funny. I didn't even really think about the Paramount War, but now that you mention it, I really disagree. I think that's the strength of the Paramount War, and it's not the new characters. Like, if you're talking about like the characters that are introduced, like, oh, here's the New World captains and stuff, none of them really left an impact. But the characters that were pre-existing, seeing the admirals face off against the Whitebeard,
that's not what I'm saying.
Those type of things.
I'm specifically
so exciting.
I'm specifically pointing out all the new faces and stuff like that.
Okay, I totally agree in that sense.
Yeah, because we got all those new faces, and then like not very many of them did anything worth remembering. Whereas like we're seeing a little bit more here.
That one swordsman, and he fought Mihawk, like he held off Mihawk
with the zigzag mustache.
Yeah, no, that's
or the other guy.
There's two, I think. Anyway, yeah.
Well, because
there's some really cool moments like that.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything with the Whitebeard pirates and like the admirals and the Marines, I loved all that stuff. But yeah, there were some things with like the New World captains, and like those things just sort of fell. I mean, there was nothing. Like they were not that interesting.
Yeah, it feels like he's improved it a little bit. Like, because I remember earlier on, you're like, doesn't it feel like some of these Coliseum characters, like I don't really care about them? And now, as we're getting along further on, they're becoming more and more important. It's almost like he had this idea of using the tournament to kind of establish these characters in our minds, so that we could see them later on, see a little bit of character development, so we'd find them more appealing, find something about them to be more memorable.
It almost reminds me of the Supernovas. Like, we were introduced to them within, like, a chapter. And it's hard to care about them right away, of course. But over the years, you see all these, like, little weird, funny things about them. And they all have these different interesting powers and cool designs. And, like, at this point, a lot of them are fan-favorite characters. I like a lot of the Supernova. So, it's sort of that way, where, like, almost retrospectively, the more you come back to these Coliseum gladiators and stuff, the more you enjoy them. I think.
Like, it's building more and more as it goes on. So it's almost like he's kind of looked at like maybe what was a flaw earlier on in the series or whatever, and he's worked on improving that. Like just kind of toying with ways that he could kind of like help to bring them more like characterization, give them more life.
I would say Oda's he's conscientious about his patterns. He knows that in One Piece he has certain patterns, and I would say that he likes to try, like, we're kind of getting a lot of the same story elements in a lot of different arcs, but he finds ways to keep it fresh. We've been in a lot of battles, we've seen a lot of princesses, there's flashbacks, there's a lot of elements that keep it almost. Like, it bothers some people. It doesn't bother me, but I guess...
I can get why the whole thing with, like, the Straw Hats dealing with royalty on, like, almost a regular basis might kind of mess with people.
Or like, heads of state, like Iceberg. Like,
stuff like that,
They are literally every arc, you are dealing with the person who's, like, leading that island. Yeah. And when I look back, I do think that's kind of crazy, but there's so many theories out there on how One Piece is going to end. I think it's going to matter by the end of the series. Like, it's been stated that there will be a war that engulfs the world. So for Luffy to be making friendships and pacts and relations with all these people that are really important and powerful, that's going to matter a lot.
I can only imagine, like, all these islands that he's visiting, all their governments and their people just allying with them against the world government or something like that.
So I do agree with some of the criticisms about how the plot elements, like okay, they're gonna beat the bad guy. There's gonna be a big party. Like I know that some things almost feel too much. Like we've seen this. I get that, but I also think some things they matter. Like it matters that they became close with Shirahoshi. She's fucking Neptune. Wait, Poseidon. She's Poseidon.
I was like, what?
Wrong thing. Her dad's Neptune. She is Poseidon.
Dude, that just sounds wrong now that you said that.
She's her dad... fucking Neptune. What? Oh, it's a fanfic. I'm sorry. I'm writing a fanfic, everybody. So we're still on chapter 752.
Let's go back.
We're still on chapter 753. And we go into the whole thing with Totada, where the other ones are like, hey, you gotta fight back, because they're just fucking, whatever.
And then they just straight up destroy them.
The Totada are fucking strong.
I know.
Like, they're just so ridiculously gullible. Yeah. I don't know.
It just... they're so stupid.
I gotta admit, I'm loving the interactions between Cavendish and Luffy and Kairos and Law. It's all great. It's all super funny to me. I really enjoy all that. I mentioned pre-podcast but I think it's interesting that Cavendish seems to be like being built up like he's as important as any of those. Like his reasoning for taking on Doflamingo seems to be as legit as all of them.
What was his reason?
I don't know. but it seems like Oda's putting it on a similar plateau with the rest. I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember it either. I just know that for whatever reason he has an issue with him.
Fuck, we should look that up. I don't remember. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh, right, this panel. This was really good. Kairos and Diamante. He's basically like... Well, Diamante killed his fucking wife. So, of course.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And straight up, like, beat down Rebecca in the tournament, too. Yeah. I don't know if he knows about that, though.
That'd probably piss him off more.
She's still alive.
I love visually Kairos. Like, I just love that he's a big buff dude with one leg. Like, it's awesome. He's standing there, and he's got one leg.
Is it just me, or does his facial structure remind you a little bit of Dragon?
Yeah, I could see that. A little.
Like, especially...
Dragon has a very specific nose.
Like, mostly, like, when he gets in that serious mode.
The eyes. The eyes are very similar.
His eyes.
Dragon has, like, this thick, like, nose, and it kind of becomes like an arrow, almost.
Yeah.
And, of course, the tattoo. So, but the eyes are very similar.
And this panel, real quick, let's check. Is Suleiman there?
I do not see him.
Oh man, Suleiman might be down for the count and gone.
So we're on 753, and there's that big double spread where all the gladiators are coming together finally. And it's a really cool thing, but we're looking for Suleiman, and we do not see him. So
like, Orlumbus is still there, because I know he got taken down by one of them in an earlier shot, but he's up there still. And we have Blue Gilly.
Don Shinjao, of course.
Yeah, his grandsons.
Hadrudin.
Yeah,
the grandsons, the King of Prudence. Anyway.
Yeah.
And they're all coming together under Luffy and under that dude.
Tactician Dagima.
Tactician Dagima.
Mr. Robotnik.
I need to remember that motherfucker's name.
The doctor.
There's a thread in Arlong Park where people like post like pictures and then pictures of characters in One Piece and like where Oda gets his inspiration from, and they're really funny. I wonder if anybody's made that parallel yet.
I don't know.
I haven't been on Arlong Park in a while. I'm afraid.
Yeah, we should check.
I used to write that series on there, and I got like 90,000 views, but then I stopped writing it, and now I don't want to go on anymore.
You're just like,
I'm worried. I miss doing it, but
at the same time, you're just like, what just happened? It's like you go back and you just have a bunch of complaints or something.
yeah, I did go back and people were asking me why I hadn't been writing it, but I just, whatever. I just haven't had time. I mean, I have time now. I'm single. Single ladies, what? Let's not go there. That's depressing. Let's move on. Let's talk about One Piece.
All right.
Blah, blah, blah. That is the end of chapter 753. We're moving on to 754, which... I got to be honest, I loved. I was so happy when I read it this morning. It was a really enjoyable chapter.
Yeah, I liked it a lot more than some of the other ones.
I feel like the two that we just talked about, while I enjoyed them, while I think they were solid, I just don't feel like I got like that little magic One Piece thing. You know, like,
it was almost like they were just building up to this one.
Yeah, and you know what?
Which is fine.
It's fine. It's just, but when you expect something and it's sort of a little bit under your expectations, like you're a little lukewarm on it. That's how I felt for those two, honestly. And I really enjoyed this one. This one was
actually kind of how I felt for the X-Men movie. It was like, I'm not expecting that much for this.
But you enjoyed it. Is that what you mean?
But I got more from it. So, but I'm saying, like, for all I know, because I expected so little,
okay,
maybe I enjoyed it a lot more than
your low expectations.
Yeah,
I see.
Because it could have gone the other way. It could have been like, I'm super stoked for this. I'm super excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. And then I saw it, and then I could have hated it.
That totally happens.
Yeah.
I try to go in with an open mind to most movies, but sometimes you just... Like Guardians. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming up, and I'm really,
looking forward to it.
I'm really hoping it's going to be good, and it looks good, but you just never know, man.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm just hoping... I'm hoping Rocket Raccoon actually does something awesome.
Yeah.
Like, blows people up.
I'm sure it'll be good. So, we're on chapter 754 now. The chapter that just came out today. And finally, I feel like it's been months and months, but we finally meet...
Finally see Kanjuro! He's alive!
And I have to admit, I love him. He's hilarious. He's fucking hilarious. He was hiding in a wall.
It's Jiraiya. He's alive. He's alive in One Piece.
We were joking. If you look at the panel where he is, where he's introduced, and you just think about his outline, we're like, he looks like Chansey, the Pokemon Chansey. Like,
who's that Pokemon? It's Kanjuro.
Who was the other person we thought he looked like?
Jiraiya.
No, was it Jiraiya?
Because of the whole Kabuki.
Yeah.
Feel.
There's definitely a Kabuki motif going on with these people.
Oh, but his ability is like it's similar to Sai.
See, I knew there was a Naruto character with a similar ability.
I think that's his name, Sai. It's been a while since he's been relevant in the series.
Okay, but yeah, I didn't read that part of Naruto. But of course, the gag for him is he's a really bad artist. So
the exact opposite of Sai.
So he makes a bird and it looks like shit, and it's like, can it even fly? Which I think is pretty great. So there's that. Finally see Kanjuro. I swear to God.
I know, right?
The idea wasn't his name mentioned back in Punk Hazard?
Yes.
We've been waiting a long ass time.
It was mentioned when we find out that he was just talking out of his ass. Like quite literally.
Yeah, he was literally talking out of his ass. Okay, from there we get some more sweet ass Dillinger shit, I think. Like Dillinger's just...
I think this is where that panel is that I was telling you about.
Okay.
He has that creepy, like, licking his tongue.
I think you were talking about the one that we were talking about. I think that was the same one.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, he what's this dude's name? The
Bluegilly?
Bluegilly, yeah, he kicks Bluegilly in the freaking neck. Dillinger's he's awesome.
I hope Bluegilly gets back up so he can get kicked again or something. Like, that was just way too easy.
That's sadistic. I know, well, you mean because, like, he'd been hyped up for so long?
He went down way too easily, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But maybe that's just hyping up Dillinger. Maybe Dillinger's just a bad dude. Maybe he'll be the one, maybe Cavendish will take on Dillinger. Because they're both getting some hype right now. They're both getting some rub.
They are. But I feel like Cavendish is going to end up fighting someone that has more... Like, that he has more reason to hate.
Maybe he does have more reason to hate Dillinger. Like, it's possible.
Well, like, I know Dillinger's doing a lot of fighting and stuff like that, but is he a very flashy, like attention? Like, does he like vie for attention?
I don't know. Like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Because Cavendish's whole thing is like when people take attention from him.
Yeah,
I see.
So like that's kind of how I feel like his opponent would be. So his opponent might be someone that goes and gets more attention. So like Baby 5, who like goes and gets engaged to every guy that needs her.
It'd actually be a good couple. They should just hook up.
Cavendish and Baby 5. Hey, there you go.
I almost feel like Dillinger is getting so much rub. I wonder what the end game is. Like, it'd be interesting if he was also a clone. Like, he was one of the ones that, like a preliminary clone from Doflamingo.
That was something that I was thinking about. Like, what if, like, he created...
The whole family?
Yeah, the whole family.
Oh, shit.
And, like, just by creating, like, his earlier clones that he created or whatever, like, they took on life of their own and became, like, distinct people to the point where, like, some of them, like Diamante, could actually eat a devil fruit. They no longer, like they're no longer defined by being a string clone. Like, they started off like that, but then became something.
That would sort of make sense as to why he's so protective of them.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe. We just don't know yet. It's.
We may never know. Which,
we might
which
never
makes
know.
which makes it amazing.
Which would kind of be cool if that was like just in Oda's mind, but he never told us.
Yeah.
And it was like just a maybe that was thrown out there. That would be really interesting. I love this banter that we get between Cavendish and Luffy and Law and Kairos, where they're all trying to give their reasoning for why they're the one who gets to take on Doflamingo. And it's like, well, mine's 10 years, mine 13 years, and then Luffy's like,
mine's 30.
30. You weren't even born yet.
He still won though.
Yeah.
For all we know, Doflamingo did something to his mom.
Maybe. Huh?
Eh?
We don't even know anything about Luffy's mom.
We don't know anything, but at the same time, like it's one of those things. Like, for all we know, maybe he does have a 30-year-old grudge against Doflamingo.
Maybe Luffy and maybe Dragon. Maybe
hey,
Doflamingo and Dragon.
True.
Yeah.
Hey.
Huh? I'm interested.
There we go.
Sounds exciting.
Makes sense to me.
You know what? That's canon. We just made it canon. Dragon doesn't like Doflamingo. I mean, legit though, there are theories where Dragon is tied to the Celestial Dragons.
Yeah.
So, like maybe his mom, Dragon's mom, or something, has some ties to the Celestial Dragons. He could be fucking. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know how that relates to Doflamingo necessarily, but
Doflamingo is a celestial.
They could be distant cousins or some shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be Luffy, like a very distant cousin of.
Like just beating the shit out of his cousin.
Well, so far he's not been winning, so.
In the end, beating the shit out of his cousin.
Okay, and then we get these giant toy soldier things. Well, these puppets. He calls them puppets, actually.
Yeah. It's funny because when we saw this, like, the first thing that came to our mind was, like, they're giant toys. Like, they're giants that were turned into toys.
Yeah. It's funny now that I'm looking at it again, they look a little bit like Saul.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like Saul.
Ooh.
Ooh. But as you pointed out quickly thereafter, Sugar is knocked out. So, I mean, unless there are some other weird stipulations to her power.
Kind of like that whole thing, like, where it was like, they could do whatever they wanted when they were toys. That's why Soldier, Kairos, was able to do whatever he wanted, because she didn't make a contract.
I miss when he was one-legged soldier.
But that, actually, that kind of ties into our theory about Corazon being a clone, too, and, like, of maybe some of the other family members being clones as well. Being that, like, he didn't make a contract with his clone, and therefore they had more, like, free will and were able to develop more.
Maybe these are the misfit toys.
They're the toys that were, like, permanently toyed.
Huh. Maybe after so much time, well, they all look the same. And also, with Sugar's other toys, the size of the person didn't necessarily have anything to do with the size of the toy.
It didn't, but it's still a cool thing to think about.
It is there's something very strange going on here. So no matter what, it's interesting. There's quite a few. They look awesome. I love this panel.
What was that other thing we were talking about that with regards to them?
I don't recall.
It was more like, maybe Sugar did something else. She turned them into toys, but permanently. Like, it was a different type of turning them into toys. And it was, like, intentionally permanent. So, like, even though she gets knocked out, like, there's no way that they could turn back.
Why wouldn't she do that to all of them, though?
Who knows?
Maybe she has less control over these ones.
They're extremely chaotic.
Yeah, like, she could make stipulations for the toys that are only toys so long as she's conscious.
Yeah. Whereas these ones, she could be like, okay, these ones, your toys or whatever, you're going to be toys forever, but by doing that or whatever, it made them go berserk or something.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like you pointed out, that would be very much more Hunter x Hunter, but it would be amazing.
Yeah, I pointed that out because if these were giants or these were people that were turned into toys and they were stuck that way forever, that's oddly tragic for One Piece, modern storyline One Piece, because the tragedy within One Piece often tends to revolve around the flashbacks. But if they are
amazing.
Giants, we are going to Elbaf at some point. Like, Usopp could have some kind of interaction with these people. Like,
yeah.
Like, we're probably definitely reading way too much into this, and we really have no idea what the story is with these things. But
we don't, but it's still cool to think about.
Yeah, it's fun to kind of kick some ideas around. There's something weird with these fucking things. And who knows what that could be. They're giant, they're quote-unquote huge puppets. So, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But if they are related to giants in any way, I mean, that'll be fascinating. I mean, I wonder if Hadruden will meet up, and it'll be like he'll go fucking crazy. Like, look, look what you did.
Dude, what if he goes up there and sees him, and it's like it turns out to be like maybe they're toys made out of
his crew.
Maybe they're toys made out of like corpses.
Oh shit. Maybe they look kind of that way. They kind of look like bones.
Like, what if they're like? Imagine if they were toys made out of giant corpses. Like, maybe it is his crew, and he's just like, oh,
that's creepy.
That is a very creepy.
I mean, that could have nothing to do with sugar. That could just be like they're called puppets, and that sounds a lot like something Doflamingo could do.
Yeah.
So they might just be these giant corpses that he's manipulating because he's fucking crazy. He's fucking sick. So maybe
that would, as dark as that sounds really good.
Well, I mean, again, we'll just have to wait and see.
It's not good that he's going around turning corpses into puppets and all that stuff, but it's not like storytelling-wise, like that.
I think it's kind of good. I think it's kind of great.
Yeah.
Okay, and from there we switch right into some really fun stuff between Pika and Zoro. I love this. I love seeing Pika's power. It's really cool in action, and if there's anything maybe a little disappointing about this, it's that Zoro
is not trying at all.
This deep into the New World. He's still very casual.
Like, Pika's out of breath. And Zoro's just like, oh.
Yeah, but these panels with Pika are really cool. Like, I really do like the way his power looks visually in a battle sense. It looks really nice. And then Robin, Rebecca, and Bartolomeo are all, of course, they're like hovering over. It's great. It's all great. I'm not explaining that well at all. They're doing the thing with the Tontara where they're hovering over Zoro,
jumping and floating and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And then the source of Zoro's power.
Yeah, that's our story. We're sticking to it.
Rebecca is the source of Zoro's power at this point.
Zoro's so uninterested in all those things, but you know what? Yeah, I agree. Hey, I mean, why not?
I mean, just look at that smile after he encounters them.
Look at her face too. She looks like she's getting perved on. And then the chapter closes with a 1,080-pound cannon.
Robin has an oddly satisfied smile.
Phoenix, I know. Oh, I like that. Damn. Sexiness. Alright, so... Oh my god. We're just laughing and not explaining what we're talking about. So to all your listeners, we're looking at the very last page of chapter 754, and
Bartolomeo's face.
Bartolomeo's incredible face. It looks so creepy.
He's just like Zoro.
Those are his vinegar strokes. He is coming right now. It's disgusting and awesome.
Oh god,
that guy fangasms for Zoro so much. It's great. All right.
He fangasms for everybody.
So that is the wrap up of those 3 chapters. Anything else you would like to talk about in regards to them?
I'm looking forward to what happens next chapter. I want to see the result of Zoro versus Pika. I want to see...
Well, it's a nail biter. I wonder who's going to win.
I already know who's going to win, but I just want to see that it was so easy for Zoro.
I mean, it's cool. Like, it was cool in Fishman Island, too. The whole, like, you're just a small frog thing. Like, it was cool. And it's still cool because Pika's a bad motherfucker, and Zoro's still casually beating him. It's cool, but at some point, we need to see Zoro try.
I think that when we start actually going against some of the Yonko, when they become more involved, then we'll get to see some of Zoro's full strength.
I would totally agree with
that.
And
I'm looking forward to more of the Fujitora fight.
Yeah, that's not somebody he'll be able to beat casually. Yeah. If he's able to beat him at all, who knows?
The Sabo Fujitora fight.
Well, I mean, yeah, if Zoro had more interaction with Fujitora, I feel like that was teased quite a bit, and then we never got it. But Sabo Fujitora, I'm not.
Well, like I definitely know, like I'm definitely positive that Fujitora is not gonna lose. Sabo's not gonna lose.
You mean like lose in the sense that they're like out of the game? Kind
yeah,
of. Yeah, like they're gonna fall out of relevance.
Yeah, like it's not going to be like, oh, they've been just completely obliterated in this fight or whatever. It's going to be like, oh, there's going to be a fight. One might end up with the upper hand, but they're going to survive to fight another day. And then like later on, we'll end up with the Zoro Fujitora fight. But for right now, I'm just looking forward to seeing Sabo and Fujitora fight a little bit more.
It's gonna be great. Like I'm almost more excited for that than I am Luffy Doflamingo. Like it might be the single fight that I'm most excited for in this arc at the moment.
That was another thing that I was gonna point out. Remember how you're like, it almost seems like all of these guys have relevant, like good reasons for wanting to fight Doflamingo and all that.
Yeah, even though we can't remember Cavendish's.
All 4 of them. I think maybe all 4 of them are going to fight.
I thought that too. When they were all trying to like fight for it, like fight for who gets to take on Doflamingo, I was like, maybe they'll just team up on Doflamingo. Like, I don't know if that would make them seem weak, kinda. Like, oh, Luffy had to use literally everybody. I mean,
I feel like it's more like because they're competing who's going to defeat him first, that Doflamingo is just going to make a few clones.
Oh.
And it's going to be literally like them 4 against 4 Doflamingos or something.
Yeah, I thought about something similar like that too. Almost they won't know who the real Doflamingo is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I hope. I have a lot of faith in this arc. I feel like this arc has not.
Yeah.
It has not had a lot of missteps. Even though I wasn't complaining about the last couple chapters. They just didn't They just weren't those chapters where you're done reading them and you go, oh, holy shit, did you read that?
They were definitely more transitional chapters.
They were very solid chapters. I enjoyed them fine. And in a volume form, if you're reading 10 chapters at a time, they're going to be fine. I quite like them. It's just they didn't leave you like pumping your fist. That's all I'm saying.
Looking at it week to week, it wasn't one of those chapters. They weren't one of those chapters where it was like, this is amazing.
And honestly, I'm not sure how much One Piece is that kind of series anymore. It almost feels like if you had the patience to wait 2 or 3 weeks, that would be the better approach.
Yeah.
You know, which we've mentioned Hajime no Ippo is like that, but for almost an entirely different reason. But like, because it feels like it's a drop in a bucket. You know, it feels like you're done with it in literally
I basically got caught up with it to the chapter that's released right now for Ippo.
Yeah.
And they left off on such a cliffhanger that it's like, I need to know what happens. Just release more chapters. Come on. I need to know. I just need to know.
I'm happy I'm a little behind then.
Yes, I just need to know. I need to know.
Anyway,
like it would be tragic. It's one of those cliffhangers that it would be tragic if the mangaka just passed away and there was no more Ippo.
Well, I mean, that would be tragic anyway, but it would be especially tragic if that was the last chapter.
It would be very tragic, but it would be especially tragic if the series ended on that chapter.
So we've been off for a month, but we only had 3 chapters to review because Oda took a break, and neither of us had any idea what this break was about. We still don't.
I'm not sure what happened. Like, there was no, like...
It wasn't like the chapter prior. It was like, well, Oda be off a week or something.
Yeah. The break he took before that was like, Oda needs to go to the hospital. He needs to get taken care of or whatever. The more recent break, it was literally out of nowhere. There was no announcement in the chapter. There was no like, One Piece will be on break next week at the end of the chapter or anything like that. It was literally just, hey, where'd the new chapter go? I don't know. Are you sure it was supposed to come out this week?
Yeah, I was just waiting, and then it didn't come out, and then I saw a YouTuber, his name is Everything One Piece, and he was talking about how it's not coming out this week, and that was that. I mean, at that point, Naruto and Toriko and all these other series had come out, so I knew pretty much One Piece wasn't coming out for whatever reason. I still don't know why. I think maybe we should just assume every 2 or 3 chapters we're gonna have a week without One Piece. That's almost what it feels like at this point.
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes for Oda to just be healthy and happy and get a little bit more time to himself, fine. But I would like to at least know that the chapter going into it, like
I kind of feel like he needs to just switch to a bi-weekly format.
Maybe if that's what he needs, that's what he needs. I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, it'll suck, but I'm fucking open to it.
It will suck, but like considering the fact that he's already kind of taking like that's kind of how his break schedule's getting set up right now, and it's not like it's not even like, oh, I'm just going to be taking these breaks. It's like literally like, okay, I am too sick to be able to do anything, so we're going to have to skip a week. So it feels like he needs to go to like a regular bi-weekly setup to where it's like he has time to rest and take breaks between writing.
I mean, a part of me doesn't agree because if he could do 3 chapters and then take a week off and then do 3 chapters, to me that's better than him doing a chapter every other week. So,
well, that's better for us.
Okay,
but
well, if that's okay with him, like,
yeah,
if it's a healthier move and it's just a better move for his health and longevity for him to do bi-weekly, fine. I'm really okay.
Yeah,
with it.
that's more what I'm saying. Just like these bits of information that we're getting about his health and all that stuff, like that seems to be like what he should do in order to get better. Because, like, what was it for? He went to the hospital for what, a tonsillectomy or something like that.
Yeah, he had tonsillitis, and they had to remove them. So that was last year, and then this year they removed.
That
his
was
tonsils.
like what, a 2 week.
Yeah, I think last week it was 3. Last year it was 3 weeks, and then this week this year, this year
was like a 2 week break.
Yeah,
I almost feel like he's not giving himself enough time to recover from any serious complications.
Well, the rumor that I hear is that a lot of these breaks that he's been taking lately aren't even of his own volition. He's being forced by his editors to take breaks. So I know he's a bit of a workaholic. He would probably be taking way less weeks off if it wasn't getting his arm twisted. So look. We here at the Mugiwara Authority love Oda and we love One Piece, and we just want him to be healthy. That's priority number one. So whatever he has to do, we're happy with it. We just want One Piece to keep coming out. We want Oda to have a good quality of life. That's all. Yeah. That's all we're saying. You know, we're not trying to sound cynical or like we deserve anything, like he owes us anything. Nothing like that. In no way. But we do love One Piece, and we of course would love to keep getting the series on a regular basis. It's just sometimes it's jarring when you expect a chapter a week and you don't get it. Not even because, okay, all I'm saying is it would have been nice to know the week prior that we're not getting a chapter the week coming.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and if it was for, like, if he took that week off for, like, health reasons or whatever, that's completely understandable. And it's just surprising that something didn't come out.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, maybe something did and we both missed it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not frequenting our park as much as I used to, and maybe we're just not as in touch with the fandom at the moment as we usually are. But neither of us got anything. I didn't
know anything. I actually tried looking up to see if it was like a health-related issue.
Okay.
And I didn't find anything out.
Yeah, because usually when it's not a health-related issue, when it's just he's taking a week off, they'll say. One Piece is off next week.
Yeah, if he's just taking time off or whatever for family and stuff like that, he'll just be like, or at the end of the chapter, it'll just be like, One Piece will be taking a break or something.
Anyway, I don't want to be giving off the wrong.
I
don't want to be giving off the wrong kind of message or image for us. I don't want people to think we're cynical in any way. We're huge One Piece and Oda fans, and we just want them to be happy. We're just sometimes it's sort of unsettling. That's all. You know, it's sort of like, well. I mean, I hope everything's cool, you know.
Unexpected breaks kind of give off the feeling that he's not doing well.
Yeah, it scares you, especially because this has been a rocky couple years. Like, compared to every other year where he's taken almost no breaks. Like, these last couple years, things have been significantly rougher, you know?
Yeah, they've been a little bit more difficult for him, like, just in general.
Anyway, man, that's those 3 chapters. I think we said what we need to say. I'm pretty happy with all that. Anything else on your mind lately?
Not really.
Let's talk about that fucking X-Men movie then. Because when I think of like a Western equivalent, not to One Piece in terms of storytelling, but in terms of like when I want to compare
diversity of character
and especially superpowers. When I go like here's a canon with this many superpowers, and then here's this canon with this many superpowers, I think of X-Men, and I know they are part of the bigger, larger Marvel universe, but even just contained within the X-Men, there's a lot of characters that also have similarities to One Piece characters, and I like that, because I like going, well, Oda does this power, but he does it this way, and that's cool, you know?
It's like we have different interpretations of
like, Magneto doesn't make giant metal arms, at least not that I've ever seen, you know? And I think that's cool. I think that's cool that Kid does that. So...
Yeah, it's cool that Kid does that. It's cool that in the movie, we saw Magneto sorry, spoiler for everybody who hasn't seen it, but you should have by now. It's in the Dollar Theater where we live. We
just saw it in the Dollar Theater, so I mean, I don't feel bad for you. Spoilers from this point forward. Fucking clock off if you don't want to hear it. Okay.
But I like how he just took these steel girders or whatever that were from the railroad tracks and just kind of stripped them and twined them inside of the Sentinels.
Yeah, he wove them into the fabric of the Sentinels.
And he just kind of controlled the Sentinels with his makeshift internal skeleton.
Yeah, I thought that was cool and also a little dicey. Like, logically, it didn't make the most sense to me. Like, did he know how to control them? Like, they were like turning on and off at his whim. Like, that was sort of weird. He was being able to use their machine guns and shit. Like...
It was weird how he did it, because he made them into like weird little like microscopic wires, so it was like going into all the circuitry and stuff too. So it wasn't just like he made a makeshift skeleton, he also
It was like a nervous system. Basically.
Yeah.
Like it was spreading out throughout. I understand. I get that. It's just his control over them seems so absolute. But Magneto, you know.
Well, it wasn't completely absolute because it did turn on him in the end. He just broke it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that was his failsafe in his mind. Like, well, if they recognize me as a mutant and they try to attack me, I'll just destroy them. Big deal. Like, yeah. Which is exactly
at that point. I don't think he even. I think Mystique actually completely confused him too. So I don't.
Clay, huh?
Yeah, there we go.
See, I can't not make these parallels. Maybe there's more inherent limitations on One Piece characters because Bond can't just turn into whoever he wants.
He has to touch them with one hand and touch himself with the other.
Exactly. Where I don't think Kid, at least not the Kid that we know in pre-time skip, he didn't have anywhere near the kind of control that Magneto has of his abilities.
Yeah.
Kid could kind of just bring things to him and like make big, vague, monstery looking things, and you know he could.
Whereas Magneto has the more like control, the fine control of his ability.
Exactly.
From years of experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a younger Magneto, but still, yeah.
That he had still had his power for a long time at that point.
That's I'm sure that's true. So yeah, overall, really good movie. I've seen it twice now. You've seen it twice.
Yeah.
Within the last 2 days.
Once a day.
Yeah. You want to go see it tomorrow?
Sure.
In my personal opinion, it is...
Maybe you won't be hungry this time.
It is the strongest of the X-Men films. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. A lot of people...
I liked the first one a lot, and I don't remember enough of the second one to have an opinion about it.
A lot of people still put X2 above Days of Future Past.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't. I actually rewatched X2 after I saw Days of Future Past the first time, because I was like, was it better? But I don't think it was better. It was good.
I keep thinking that's the one that Jean killed Scott, but that's the one where Jean died.
Yeah, the third one is that's the Brett Ratner one that nobody likes.
Yeah, the one that this movie was basically a giant fucking.
Yeah, it was basically like, well, you know what? Fuck that movie. We're undoing all the dumb shit in that movie.
Basically, like they even specifically had like clips of events in that movie. And then they were just like, yeah, that's gone.
The one that comes to my mind is him stabbing Jean. Like, I love you, and he fucking has to stab her and kill her.
Yeah.
But that's just a part of his tragic past. I mean, that didn't feel like a fuck you. It just sort of felt like...
Well, it was mostly, like, everything involving Jean and mostly the Phoenix. Because young Charles was looking into his mind, but he was in such an odd mental state that he was only focusing on the bad. He wasn't focusing on anything good at that point. So like everything that flooded into his mind was all of the negative events that Jean were involved in with Wolverine.
Yeah, it was a good movie. I liked it.
I do have to say though that it almost makes me feel that the Wolverine isn't considered part of
the film
canon?
The
X-Men film canon, yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that. What happened at the end of the Wolverine that makes you say that? Because I kind of just don't remember it that well.
In the Wolverine, he gets captured by Silver Samurai and that weird... I forget her name. I'm not that familiar with her character.
But I don't think she's a canon X-Men character. I think she's a...
Oh, so she was basically specifically for the movie?
I believe so.
Okay, that makes sense then. But like he has his hands, they're like locked in, bolted into these like cuffs that are designed to force him to retract his claws, or not retract, but extend, release his claws or whatever. And Silver Samurai takes a sword of adamantium
and cuts them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so, like, he regenerates his bone claws.
Yeah.
So that's at the end of the Wolverine, which takes place, I guess, after...
It could take place after Days of Future Past.
It couldn't have taken place after. The only explanation is that the Wolverine... Well, I guess... The only thing that I can think of is that the Wolverine takes place after... Wolverine's time traveling in Days of Future Past. So it would have to take place after the entirety of the movie. Or it would have to take place at some point during his blank, that memory blank that he has.
Okay.
Because at the beginning of Days of Future Past, okay, this is getting into some complicated territory. At the beginning of Days of Future Past, or whatever, when it's actually the future, so let's just say that, okay,
I don't think it's the future, though. I think it's the present. I mean, it is our future, but it's there. Okay, yeah.
Okay. There, well, okay, here's what happens. Days of Future Past is the present. Logan gets sent back in time. He fixes history, and there's a new present.
Okay, yes.
So in the first present, the prior present, he still has his metal claws.
Yeah.
Which means that the Wolverine couldn't have taken place before the events that lead up to Logan.
The beginning of Days of Future Past, the movie. Yeah,
basically. So it would have had to have happened after Logan fixed the timeline, either in that blank period of his memory from 1973 to the new present, or it would have had to take place after this movie.
Is it possible that he didn't get his adamantium claws at all in the new timeline?
It is possible, and which would also mean that the Wolverine
still doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't fit very well.
It just doesn't fit at all in the X-Men
It's one of those fucking movies where you have to jump through a billion hoops just to make any goddamn sense of how it fits within the storyline.
Like, the movie itself is like, it's a good movie.
It's solid.
It's a good movie. It's a decent movie. But, like, if we're looking at, like, all of these movies, X1, X2, X3...
Origins...
No,
I'm not defending it. It's awful, but I mean, it's a movie.
I guess I have to at least say that Wolverine Origins does technically fit in the timeline of the movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. Nobody's defending the quality of the movie.
It's horrible.
Of all the X films, and that's including Last Stand. It is it's so bad. It's by far the worst. It's horrible.
But it still fits in with the continuity.
Yeah.
Whereas the Wolverine just doesn't fit.
First Class also. So, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dude, I don't know what to say.
So, like, the only thing that I have to say is, like, maybe the Wolverine films are going to be, like, kind of parallel to the X-Men films, where it's like the continuity in the X-Men films and the Fantastic Four films isn't necessarily going to be the continuity of the Wolverine films, because I believe that there's a second Wolverine.
I feel like that's so sloppy. They should have found a way to make them all work together.
Yeah,
it's just confusing for people. I mean, if it was a different actor playing Wolverine, that's fine.
Well, like we said, we still haven't seen like a lot of people say, we still haven't seen Wolverine's claws.
Yeah.
So we don't know if he has the adamantium skeleton and all that stuff, or if he has just a normal skeleton.
Because Stryker, the one who gave him the adamantium skeleton, I don't know if he was killed, but Mystique was pretending to be him
when he was salvaged.
Yeah, when he was.
Personally, I think that Mystique might be somehow involved with the Weapon X program in the new timeline or whatever, or something like that. Like, I feel like Wolverine still has to get the adamantium skeleton, because that's kind of a major character trait of his.
I mean, okay, well, there is some weird stuff going on with the X-Men series anyway. There isn't a lot of great continuity sometimes, just fucking anyway.
Yeah.
Because the first X-Men film, it wasn't like Xavier and Mystique seemed like they had this fucking really deep emotional past. They almost seemed like they didn't know each other at all.
Yeah.
So you can't really. It's almost like clearly there's some. Yeah. Okay, Xavier got killed in the third X-Men film.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is he back?
That too.
Why is he even alive?
Oh no!
There was some shit about his brother or whatever. But
there was
there was like something.
There's the comatose.
The
brain dead.
But he didn't look exactly like Patrick Stewart.
He projected the image into other people's minds.
Okay.
That's the explanation as to why he would normally look like that if he was in another body. Because I believe that something...
It sounds like a goddamn cop-out, but really anything would. I'm not going to lie. Like, if you're going to bring him back somehow, and you're going to have a shitty explanation, fucking whatever. I'm happy Patrick Stewart's back. Like, I don't care. But it's a mess. It's a fucking mess, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, whatever. Important thing, Days of Future Past, even in a vacuum, isolated from everything else, is a really good movie.
Yeah.
So, well recommended. We are both looking forward to Age of Apocalypse because Bryan Singer has signed on to direct it, and he did a very good job with Days of Future Past. So, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it'll be great. I don't know. I don't know why we're talking about X-Men so much, but I mean, X-Men is cool.
Well, we were talking about like the
parallels.
Parallel, yeah.
What I think of sometimes when I think of that is like Xavier. I think of like the telepaths and how One Piece has nothing like that. Like that's like the one area that has been explored thoroughly in the X-Men canon that we have gotten like nothing of in One Piece.
We're getting a little bit more though with the whole idea of like conquerors hockey. So we're like, whereas like Professor X can freeze
Did you think
people.
that thing, okay, when Professor Xavier, when he went through the thing and the guy, like, he basically Jedi'd him. You remember? Like,
yeah. He's just like, yeah, here's our passes.
Yeah, they're with me. And
those two are with me.
I always think, like, these are not the droids you're looking for. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So, the Conqueror King's hockey. Okay.
Yeah, so I can see, like, some things that are similar to, like, the telepathic ability that might not necessarily be telepathy.
Yeah.
But something that might be considered...
It's almost like their presence is so great.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even necessarily their mind. It's Luffy's presence is so great that anybody not worthy of battling or coming in contact with him will just fucking pass out.
Yeah.
He's like a beetle. It's the power of the Beatles. It's Beatlemania. That is... I've never made that parallel, but essentially, when you have Conquer King's Hockey, you have the power to invoke Beatlemania, and everybody is like a little girl screaming and passing out in front of you. That's
I thought you were talking about, like, a stag beetle.
No. The Beatles, like the Fab Four, dude.
Well, because it's funny, just because it was like that totally fits Luffy if you put it like that.
Well, that too.
Like
One Piece is very layered. This is what I tell everybody.
Like I just remember because
he is both Lennon McCarthy and he is a stag beetle or Hercules beetle, whatever.
Because I just remember that scene in Jaya where he's all late to getting to the ship and he's just like, look what I found, everybody.
Yeah.
Or there's
another scene too where Chopper's like, what's like. I think he says like, "What's more impressive, the One Piece or a Hercules beetle?" And he's like, "Oh, that's a tough one."
Yeah. And then I like the little cover stories because I think there's a cover story where it's like him and Usopp and they have like stag beetles that are or Hercules beetles that are like fighting or wrestling or something like that.
Yeah.
Poor Luffy. He is a Hercules beetle.
I think I've asked you. I think I texted you this, but Zoro versus Wolverine, like,
you did text me.
I feel like I texted you that a couple months ago.
I unfortunately have to say that I believe. You know what? Basically, what was it that I said? Like, I said something along the lines of like, Zoro will kill you. Wolverine will kill you. The only difference is that Wolverine has a healing factor.
After this chapter, after 1,080-pound Phoenix, it feels like he has more of a chance.
But he broke only stone.
It's true. Adamantium is a very different animal, but it was like a mountain's worth of stone. But still,
it's still only stone.
True, it's a big difference.
I mean, he can cut steel, but
adamantium
is significantly harder.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those fights that would be a lot of fun to read. That's all.
It would be fun to see, yeah.
Yeah, I would just really enjoy looking at it. But whatever. I mean, no, I can't even disagree. That healing factor is a big deal. I mean, he's essentially immortal, depending on which version of Wolverine we're talking about.
Like, I think like if he got his head cut off, then
Zoro's very durable. Don't get us wrong. He's very durable.
Yeah.
But he's still a man. He
still doesn't have that healing factor.
Yeah, he still gets worn down.
I wonder if I still have that text, actually.
It's probably pretty old, dude. You have to go back a little ways.
Load earlier messages.
Anyway, should we move on to our final segment of this podcast?
We probably should, because we spent like
20 minutes probably on
well, we spent like an hour on the first three chapters.
Usually we go through the chapters fairly quick. We were behind, people. Okay,
I know.
Behind.
We kind of apologize, but life.
I don't apologize for you, but we'll be back next week, though, I promise. Anyway, every story ever. Hey, can you pull up our every story ever list so we could go over which arcs? Every arc ever.
Yeah,
Sorry, every arc ever.
Every arc.
I actually stole the idea of every arc ever from War Rocket Ajax, a podcast about comic books, and they have a segment called Every Story Ever, so that's why I'm getting all confused.
Where did they put One Piece?
I actually, because one of the main, one of the guys who on the podcast, his name is Chris Sims, and he writes for Comics Alliance. He actually wrote about One Piece.
Yeah.
He wrote about Arlong Park and how he said it's like the best fight scene in comics history. So I actually did send in my list for War Rocket Ajax because they take what they do for every story ever.
Really?
They get 3 stories from different listeners, and then they go over those stories on the podcast, and then they'll rank them. So I did send in the Arlong Park arc of One Piece, but they haven't gone over it yet. And they probably won't. I don't know. I just feel like they won't get around to it, but hopefully they do. I would love to know where it actually ranks.
What else did you put in?
I put in Jeff Smith's Bone, and I think I put in Mouse. I wanted my theme was black and white because like lots of times they're picking lists that are black and white, but they haven't ranked any manga. So my guess is they probably just will stay away. So
yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
it's still pretty cool.
Yeah,
it still would be pretty cool. But currently,
Spiegelman. I was trying to remember the name of the artist who did Mouse. Spiegelman.
Currently, our arc list is as follows: from highest rank to lowest, the Paramount War, or the Marineford War, or the Whitebeard War, whichever you choose to call it. Well, there's probably multiple names.
There are War and Rescue, all those, but just because
the Paramount War,
just because of Viz's translation, I stick with the Paramount War.
Yeah, it's the easiest to remember. Followed immediately by Drum Island, followed by Jaya, followed by the Barati, followed by Little Garden, and that's it. This week we are going to be going over Amazon Lily and Whiskey Peak.
Yes, so I think we should go over Whiskey Peak first.
Yeah.
Okay, so Whiskey Peak takes place, it's one of the first arcs we get into the Grand Line, and it's good in a character development sense because it's part of the grand saga that is Arabasta, and we learn about Vivi, we learn about her past, we learn about her relevance within the Arabasta Island and the history.
We're introduced to Robin at the end, right?
She comes off as a very flat character, this simple villainess, and it turns out that she's much more important than that. She becomes a spiritual straw hat throughout this journey. Not necessarily during Whiskey Peak, but that's where it starts. Zoro has these incredible moments where he takes on
100
bounty hunters. Yeah, it's great. He has these remarks about they wanted him to join the Brokeworks back in the day, and he's like, "Well, I just wanted to be the boss. If you just let me run the fucking thing, I would have done it." But
basically,
we get our one and only physical altercation between Zoro and Luffy, and it was very close, but they weren't totally serious, and this was much earlier on in the series. Obviously, this is like volumes 12 and 13.
Yeah.
So, and it ends so anticlimactically with Nami stopping them. But it was really fun while it lasted. It's funny too because Luffy was really fat because they had just eaten a lot and drinking a lot the night before. Because the whole idea is that these assassins are trying to get them fat,
drunk,
and stupid.
And fat, and
yeah, and
they just kill him.
Yeah, do a bounty hunter.
We find out that all the needles on the giant cactus or whatever aren't actually needles, that they're actually just graves.
They're graves. There are tombstones. And I loved that reveal when I watched it on the anime for the first time. Because One Piece has this way of making things so lighthearted and then giving you a layer of dark. And that was really nice. It was like this just like creepy moment. Because things in One Piece tend to always be very lighthearted. And that's fine. I mean, I love that about One Piece.
It kind of gave a real sense of foreboding going into the Grand Line,
which is maybe something that was lacking a bit during East Blue.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense too when we look at East Blue and how hyped up the Grand Line was, and how certain characters like made it out to be this kind of like dangerous place. Like what's his name? I don't know why I forgot his name.
Don Krieg or Zeph?
Yeah, Krieg and Zeph and them. How like they give this idea that the Grand Line is super dangerous or whatever. Buggy even kind of hinted a little bit in I think it was Rogue Town.
It was Rogue Town.
Yeah.
Well, he seemed kind of excited to go. He said, "Oh, it was so nostalgic," which is cool. It was like, "Whoa, but Buggy's been there? Damn." Yeah, it's just a solid, good arc. It's very early on in the Grand Line adventures. I mean, literally, we do twin capes with Laboon, and then we go into Whiskey Peak. It's very early on. It's about as early on as there are an arc as there is within the Arabasta saga, and it has some really fun moments. But like you said, of course, we are introduced to Robin. She attacks Igaram, or at least we think she does at the moment. And I mean, me being me, I love Robin, so it's a great moment for me. I just enjoy that whole thing. I love this era for One Piece and its art, so just flipping through my volumes, and it makes me very nostalgic, and I want to reread it like more thoroughly than just kind of flipping through. It's a lot of good stuff, but overall it's a solid arc. I don't think either of us are gonna really push it to the top of this list.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot more character development than, or not necessarily character development. There's a lot more. Well, yeah, probably character development. There's a lot more development going on in, like, Little Garden.
Well, in a way, the development of Vivi is almost more significant than anything I could imagine character development-wise within Little Garden. But Little Garden, to me, is such a better, funner arc.
It gives us a little bit more character development to multiple characters as a whole. Like, Whiskey Peak, we get a little bit from Zoro, and a little bit of Luffy's stupidity, and a little bit of Nami's kind of overbearingness. Well, but basically, we get a little bit of the same in terms of character development. We're just kind of introduced to Vivi. We don't get the character development.
Well, we do though. That's the thing. We're introduced to Vivi actually during the Laboon arc, but in Whiskey Peak, that's when we find out that she's a princess. That's when we find out that she isn't just a villainess. She's somebody that cares about people. And Igaram is saying, like, you gotta help her, and then they do. I mean, initially it's for money. That's the whole reason Nami wants to help. But that's the start of the friendship. And we realize that there's a lot more to Vivi really quick. So I actually disagree. I think Vivi's character development is more profound than anything, character development-wise, that we get on Little Garden. I don't think it's a better arc, but I do think, and just in terms of character development, that matters more than
I guess that particular reveal is like significantly important. But I mean, like,
and I didn't really mention, but this is where we get the idea of the Baroque Works being a big, vast, scary organization. They're a big deal, and they're going to be a big deal for a long time. I mean, this is volumes 12 and 13. The Baroque Works saga as a whole doesn't wrap up till volumes 23. That's 11 volumes. It's a long time. In terms of real world time, that's years. It's probably like something like 5 years. It's quite a while. So there's a lot of significance here, and it's a solid arc. But I'm not arguing that it's better than Little Garden, if that's what you think.
Oh no, I'm not.
Is Little Garden the bottom of our list?
Little Garden's the bottom of our list.
I think Whiskey Peak is going at the bottom of our list.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do want to say though that, like, as fun and short of an arc as it was, like, for whatever reason, there's something about it that felt a little flat.
That's why I'm calling it solid, because there isn't a lot about it that stands out. You know, it's not. I feel like you look back on Drum or something. Drum's a good example, and there's a little bit of magic there. It's beautiful. The imagery is great. There's so many moments where you look back and you go, "Oh my god, I love that moment." This has none of that.
Well, it has the little Luffy versus Zoro.
There's
fight.
Very few.
It has the tombstone reveal. And
it's almost how we were talking about Chapter 7, 52, and 3, in that they feel transitional. This arc feels transitional.
The whole arc just has that feel. Whereas, like, Jaya, it definitely had that transitional feel, but it also had kind of a more defined importance.
Oh, so much of it. There was so much going on there. Blackbeard and Doflamingo and Kuma, and we learned so much during Jaya. This has almost none of that. I mean, the things that are important for the like,
they're important.
They're more important
in hindsight,
in an episodic sense, like within Baroque Works, within Arabasta, and those are very important details within the One Piece world. But they don't really hold a candle to Blackbeard. I mean, and just Jaya. Just in general, is a much better piece of storytelling. I think people look back on Jaya and it's great. It's magic, you know. Whiskey Peak does not have that reputation, and there's a reason for it. It's just good. It's just okay. It's just middle of the road for One Piece.
It's like we were saying. It's very much just a transitional arc. It's kind of limited.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy it fine, but it's not. I don't read through One Piece and then go like, man, I can't wait to go to Whiskey Peak. You know, it's like. It's just a part of the series that just is. And that's fine, but it's nothing that we look back on with like these romantic rose-tinted glasses. It's just what it is. Solid and fine and fun, right. But that's all. Even Laboon is kind of more emotional to me, and that might have a lot to do with Brook. But even looking back on short arc...
just watching that short arc, it gave me... Well, not watching, because obviously 4Kids cut that out.
Because 4Kids knows. They have foresight. They understand. Fucking dumbasses.
Idiots.
Oh, you know what? We didn't talk at all about Mr. 5. It's funny, because we were talking about Mr. 5 and this bitch. I can't remember her name. But we were talking about them... like earlier, but they actually have importance in Whiskey Peak. Again, Oda does a good job of giving us an idea of how big Baroque Works is going to be, and I really like that. But they're fodder. They're
basically fodder.
They're the strongest fodder characters in Baroque Works, because even Mr. 3 and Mr. 4 have much more relevance than him. I mean, I like his look. He looks like Lenny Kravitz. It's pretty sweet, But basically, they're there to give us these really cool panels of Zoro and Luffy looking awesome.
Basically.
And that's great, but that's all they are. Like, they're just smashing them. It's awesome.
Owned.
Yeah, owned. Because they're getting in the way of Zoro and Luffy's fight. That's how unimportant they are. They're just like these gnats that you gotta swoosh away. And really, Robin is the character with the sinister undertones from Baroque Works right away. Like, she's the one that you look at and you go like, oh man, maybe these guys are for real.
Yeah.
So there's really good stuff here, but it's just that's all. It's just good. It's fine. I'm not going to argue that it's better than Little Garden. Little Garden, I do look forward to reading. It's fucking fun. This arc doesn't have that.
We get Mr. Prince.
Yeah, we get Mr. Prince. We get giants and dinosaurs, man. Little Garden is a lot of fun. If that's the bottom of our list, we're having a strong list so far. But anyway,
we have a little bit of Zoro's character development in that he's literally willing to cut off limbs in order to continue fighting.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in Little Garden. It's almost crazy that that's the bottom of our list. It almost shows how strong the arcs are in One Piece. But now, of course, we have a new bottom. I think we are in agreement. Whiskey Peak, bottom of the list. Get down, bitch.
All right, and next up is Amazon Lily.
You want me to talk about it, or you want to talk a little bit
about it? Go ahead and start
it?
off on it.
Okay, well, Amazon Lily is fascinating because it is actually a parallel to Whiskey Peak. It is the start of a big, important saga. And in this saga, it is the beginning of the Paramount War. So that's kind of fascinating because this is where Luffy learns about Ace. He learns that Ace has been captured and that he's going to be executed in the near future. We, of course, meet Boa Hancock, who is the most beautiful woman in the entire world. And she's fucking hilarious. I love Boa. She's one of my favorites. Her sisters are great too. Their powers are great. Luffy has a physical altercation with them. They fight, and it's really good. It's a really fun fight. The reason Boa eventually succumbs to Luffy's amazing charms is fantastic. I love that there's so much reason behind it. Like, he beat the piss out of a stupid ass celestial dragon, and those guys were total dicks to her back in the day. Like, I don't really know what the implications are, but she might have got raped. I don't want to go there because we've been there in this podcast before and it was dark. I don't want to get dark.
We're not going to get dark. Let's just not get dark right now.
Luffy smashes a big ass tiger, a big panther. It's a panther. It's big and black. It's awesome. Luffy talks about his family jewels. He's talking about his dick. It's great. It's just... Haki gets some real development here because this whole island knows Haki. These girls are using arrows and they're like smashing stone, and Luffy's like, what the hell? Why? Well, it's because Haki. Luffy's own Haki gets a lot of development here because he uses his Conqueror Kings for, I think, the first time in the series. Because she's gonna because she's gonna smash the blonde girl. What's her name? Anyway, she's gonna smash. She turned the blonde girl into stone, and she was gonna smash her. But then Luffy got pissed and knocked out a bunch of girls in the little weird Amazon Lily Coliseum. And man, there's a lot of good stuff here. It's not. It's actually shorter, or roughly the same length as Whiskey Peak.
That's crazy, but there's so much more.
Yeah, but there's so much more fun stuff here. Just the setting, even. Just the idea that this is Oda's take on an Amazonian world. It's fucking fun. It's really fun, and I definitely think it's a little bit more enjoyable than Whiskey Peak. It stands out more. You look on it and it has like a more distinct idea in your mind. Like you go, oh, like if I say Water 7, you think about Water 7. If I say Skypiea, you think about Skypiea. You think about the setting. But if I say Whiskey Peak, it's sort of like the cactus place. But Amazon Lily has a little bit more of that magic, I think. It's a really fun arc. Do you have any notes you want to say?
We've really talked a lot about this arc, I feel like.
Have we?
Well, just like different parts that, like, things that we could have talked about. We've already kind of talked about a lot of it. Like the whole idea about Oda and his character designs for women.
Yeah, we have mentioned that. That like I almost feel like it's Oda's like kind of FU to the people that think he only has one female design, by like showing all these different looks that he could give girls, which is great, but at the same time,
it's also kind of depressing that he can do all this but doesn't.
Yeah, here's Rebecca looking like Nami. Like here's Shirahoshi looking like Nami. Here's Robin looking like Boa.
Nami. Or Boa. Well, it would have been funny if it was like, here's Boa looking like Nami.
So, yeah, that's definitely a little double-edged, because it's nice, but it's not also. It's sort of depressing.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's also, like, I think it's picking up a little bit more character design-wise, because we got, at the end of Fishman Island, we got introduced to Big Mom, who is obviously not a Nami.
No, she's sexy in her own way, you know, in that powerful way. Like if she
powerful cake eating way,
like she would dominate you. But I mean, if you're into that, whatever. But yeah, no, she's not very similar to Nami.
I don't know. I like the fact that she lives on an island made of cake.
Something else I love about Amazon Lily, I feel like when you're reading it, there feels like there's real history and culture here. Like, it feels like something that's ancient and has been there. Like, we meet the other heads of Amazon Lily prior to Boa.
Like, it feels more like Skypia. Like, the Shandian culture. And
even though it's much shorter, it's much more brief, I feel like we could have stayed here longer and learned more about it, and it would have been just as
we do return to it for a little bit.
That's true.
For a brief period of time. But, we probably could have spent like an entire arc there. Yeah,
and it would have been fascinating. And also, that's great. It's great that we get like glimpses, sort of what we were saying about Law. Like we get glimpses of things that seem like they could be so much bigger, but they don't need to be.
Right.
You know, it's great that it feels so fleshed out, but it doesn't need any more exploration than what it has. It just shows 53 volumes in, Oda's still very creative and giving us these really fun things. I love the idea that strong women are what is really beautiful. Because
their perception of beauty is based on strength as opposed to physical, like more shallow.
Yeah,
kind of
what a man would find beautiful.
Yeah,
you know, which is funny because Boa is both those things. She is the most powerful on Amazon,
and the most shallow,
and the sexiest. Damn. Her devil fruit is hilarious. There's so much good. She's a strong woman. She is the only female Shichibukai. She's one of the strongest female characters in the series that we know of.
Probably at this point.
Well, Big Mom, I'm sure, is more powerful.
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
That's the problem, though.
I would make
as
that
far as that's fair enough. But I do want to see more of Big Mom. So as soon as I'm really hoping that as soon as this arc is over, the Dressrosa arc, I really hope it ends really well, but I hope that we go straight into dealing with Big Mom and Kaido.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too.
Both. I'm not talking just one and then the other. I'm talking both. I want to deal with... I want both of them to be involved.
I mean, you say we don't know enough about Big Mom, and I would totally agree, even though it's fair to say she is Yonko level. She's a fucking Yonko.
Well, she's a Yonko.
So we could assume she is very, very powerful. But we don't even really know that much about Boa. We've seen her use her weird power to do weird things, and she was able to one-shot pacifistas back when that was... before that was cool. She was like the...
before that was cool. I was killing pacifistas before it was cool.
Yeah, she was a damn hipster about it. But anyway, I would say this is a really enjoyable little arc. It's I feel like I don't almost understand people's criticisms sometimes of these shorter arcs because they go by so quick. Like the Davy backfight arc, I think is a lot of fun, and people bitch, but it's literally like a little over a volume. It's really short.
Actually, I love that arc. I think
when we get to it, it's going to be ranked better than most people will agree because we both like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, we look at that arc, and our biggest kind of, I guess we could say our biggest retort to the people that say that they don't like it is that usually those people are coming from the anime fandom. Usually, not all the time, but usually people are watching there's a lot of anime fans or whatever. They're watching the Dave backfight and in the anime, it's so much longer than it needs to be. They stretched it out so much longer than it had to be.
Well, yeah, I would agree. I feel like if you are an anime-only fan, the Davy Back fight, it has filler. Like, it's not even stretched out. They add a bunch of bullshit to it.
Yeah.
Like, in the manga, Chopper is the only one who goes over to Foxy's crew. But in the I don't remember it that well because it's been a long time. But in the anime, I do remember Robin also taken into Foxy's crew.
Yeah.
Anyway, also one last note about Amazon Lily.
Too.
Fisher Tiger is introduced. The idea of slavery and abuse and all this horrible stuff in Boa Hancock's past. I think it's really profound and sad. For a character that is introduced literally kicking puppies and stomping out fucking baby seals and shit, you learn to care and like her really quick. Her quirks and her charm take hold of you really fast, and I'm pervy for her. I think she's sexy. So, just generally, lots of good stuff about Boa. What I said in our last podcast when we picked this arc was that there's boobies. So there's totally boobies in this arc. If you're down for some boobies, there's boobies. So there's that. Also, it's a good. Where should we put this arc? Let's try to figure it out.
I don't know, man. This is.
Could I see the list, please?
This is hard.
Yeah. Let's try to.
Oh, did it close? Okay. Well, we have Paramount War.
Open it up.
I pretty much have it memorized.
Okay, yeah. All right,
we have Paramount War. We have Drum. We have I think it was Jaya.
That's bad. You should open it up. I'll talk for a minute. You open it up. It's cool. We got it. So boobs, right? No, I'm kidding. Okay. I've opened it up to a random page. Now, in this page, Luffy has fallen through the castle into Boa's bath, and she gives him the death stare, and it's great. It's super funny because Luffy isn't attracted to her,
and she's so surprised by it that it hurts her.
The whole world is females and males and dogs and animals and creatures of all types and colors and creeds. They all fall in love with Boa at first sight, but Luffy is such a dumbass, and he's so simplistic that he doesn't even
See, man, I was right. Paramount War, Drum, Jaya, Barati, Little Garden, and Whiskey Peak.
Okay. Look, I'm not questioning you. I'm saying it's bad that we don't have the solid thing in front of us. Okay.
It is much better than Whiskey Peak.
I would agree. It is much better than Whiskey Peak. So let's start at the top. I don't think either of us are going to say it's better than the Paramount War.
No.
Okay.
Not Drum.
Not Drum. Not
Jaya. Even Jaya.
Okay, this is where we are then. The Barati. That's where it gets iffy for me. What would you say? I would totally agree. Jaya, Drum, Paramount War. It's not as good as those arcs. Barati.
Okay, so we're literally at the point of trying to figure out if it's above or below Barati.
No, because if it's below, then it's about Little Garden, which is actually kind of fun. A fun little comparison, also. So. I'm the Barati fan, sort of between us two. I'm sure you.
Well, we had a tiebreaker for Little Garden Barati.
Yeah,
so
they're very close. Even now, when I weigh them in my head, they're very close.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, let's do this then. Would you put it above Little Garden?
It really is tough. They're all almost par with each other. I have this soft spot inside of my fandom for Barati. I love Barati. I can't not love the Barati. I love the physical presence of the Barati. I love that it's Sanji. I love that it's his backstory. I love Mihawk. I love Zoro crying. To me, all those things make this fucking great little arc that is stronger than Amazon Lily. If it's a personal list and it's not a team thing, I'm putting Barati above Amazon Lily.
Okay. Because I was going to say that Amazon Lily kind of has some of the same similarities as Jaya.
How so? In that it's a build-up arc?
In that it's a build-up arc that it's kind of important for Impel Down and the Paramount War. It kind of leads into this entire huge, year-long arc.
That's what I was saying about Whiskey Peak, too. It's funny that we had those two arcs to go over, because Whiskey Peak is sort of the start of the Arabasta saga, where Amazon Lily is sort of the start of the Paramount War saga. So they're sort of similar in that way, where Barati is much more self-contained.
Yeah.
It does a good job building the world that far in, because just the presence of Mihawk himself is enough to build the world quite a bit. But it's still episodic.
It is kind of a build-up to the Grand Line, because basically he was their last stop. Like, he was their last crew member before the Grand Line. And them going to Arlong Park was just because their navigator left.
Yeah.
With the ship.
Well, I mean,
like
the thing with Nami is she wasn't official in my mind almost until that point.
Well,
to Oda she was. So Oda knows better than I do.
No. But here's the thing though. You're saying, like, in your mind she wasn't official to that point.
Almost the same with Robin and then
at this point, you got to stop thinking with your mind and you have to start thinking with Luffy's mind. She was a crew member.
Oh, that's totally true. And Oda actually gives numerical value to each crew member. She is number 3. Like, that is the way it works. Where Sanji's number 4, Zoro's number 2. So, in Oda's mind and Luffy's mind, I totally agree. But I feel like on her part, on Nami's part, she wasn't a real...
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, if things had gone the way Luffy originally planned or whatever, like, they kind of didn't plan on ending up at the Barati, but like...
No, not even. They just happened to shoot a cannonball into it.
Yeah, but like them going to Arlong Park was kind of them taking a back step in their... Like, if we're just looking at it topologically, I believe.
Okay.
It's kind of a back step from going to Rogue Town, which is the last stop before the Grand Line. So it's like, they could have gone there, but... Arlong Park.
But Arlong Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what were we talking about again?
Well, we're doing this podcast called the Mugiwara Authority. And in this podcast, we have a segment called Every Arc Ever, where we rank the arcs.
Right.
We're currently ranking Amazon Lily, and we both agree that it's roughly in the middle of the list by Barati and.
Oh, right.
Garden.
What I was gonna say is that we could have said that the Barati was a decent lead into the Grand Line.
What I really want to talk about is Emma Watson. I fucking love you, Emma Watson. Please hear this and be my girlfriend because you're pretty. Okay, I'll propose to you. Anyway, I'm sorry. What were we talking about again?
Oh god.
Oh, we're doing the podcast right now.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that thing.
Okay. Okay. So. Do you inherently think that an arc that builds up into bigger arcs is better than an episodic, more self-contained arc? Or
no, but what I'm saying is that in this case we also have to take that into account.
I will agree that we have to take it into account, but I don't necessarily think one is inherently better than the other.
No, right.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, like...
okay, well, I said my piece. If this was my list, Barati would go ahead of Amazon Lily. If this was your list, how do you feel?
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now by going over some of this stuff. Because,
Okay.
like, we look at Barati or whatever, it expands the world by giving us kind of insight into the Grand Line and Mihawk and, like, stuff like that.
Well, we mentioned character development as well when we were reviewing these last 2 arcs.
And we're introduced
if we're talking
to
about
Sanji.
character development, we're introduced to Sanji, we're introduced to Zeph, we're introduced to their backstory. Zoro has one of the most incredible moments Zoro has ever had in the entire series. So, to me, that's 2 of our fucking Straw Hats and their most important moments in the entire series. So, I mean,
one.
I don't... What do you mean?
Oh, well, if we're talking, like, modern important moments, Zoro.
True. Okay, but... Okay, well, even if it's not Zoro's most important moment, it's top 2 or 3. You can't deny that.
True.
So, like, 2 of...
But I can make a parallel to that, whereas Zoro fought off... Basically, he fought his goal, which happens to be one of the Shichibukai. Luffy kind of won the adoration of a Shichibukai.
True.
In
more than the adoration, he won that pussy.
He basically won her.
She wanted that shit.
So he basically won her over in that arc.
Like,
we do get a little bit of a flashback that kind of builds and develops that Shichibukai's character as well.
That's true.
And it's probably worse than Sanji's.
What happened to Sanji? Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's probably it's definitely much more tragic in that sense.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Sanji almost died, but it's a different thing.
It's a much different thing. The implications of that arc as well of that flashback, I mean, as well.
And if I'm being entirely honest, while I love Sanji's flashback, and I think it's more important to the overall series, and I think it's the first kind of meaty, solid flashback where we really spend some time on it, if I'm really being honest, what we were saying earlier about these Dressrosa flashbacks, I feel like the storytelling within the Amazon Lily flashback is better.
Yeah.
Because it gets you excited for things to come. You go like, Fisher Tiger, holy shit. You go, oh, I understand why she cares about Luffy now. Like, she hates men, but she cares about Luffy. Like, I think the storytelling within that flashback is better. Not necessarily more important, but better.
Yeah. So, like, we have these things right here. So there's parallels between the two. I almost... I don't know. Like, I look at the Brody. The Brody is definitely much more fun. And, like, with some of the fights and, like, the fact that it has fights.
Well, there are some fights. Luffy fights the sisters. He fights he fights the Panther, but they're much shorter, and they're clearly not the fights that, like, they are in, basically
how the Brody definitely had much more fun interactions and fun fights with.
Well, the fights were clearly like
characters.
The fights that mattered within the arc, where the fights that happened in Amazon Lily, they were kind of fights that were there to build the characters. We're not supposed to not like Boa or her sisters. We're supposed to like them.
It's basically the fights were there because he happened to be a guy on Amazon Lily.
Basically, yeah.
So it's much more of a cultural thing than it is like, oh yeah, we're just gonna fight.
Yeah.
So like, it's really hard for me right now to place it. Like, I kind of want to say that it's a little bit better than the Brody, but at the same time, like, I enjoyed the Brody. Mm-hmm. Shit. Like, how long have I been trying to decide this for now?
A little while.
Yeah.
A little while. Okay, well, let's see. I want to, like, try to support the Brody. It is one of my favorite arcs.
Full body definitely matters.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a soft spot for even elements of the Brody that people don't like Pearl. I like Pearl. Well,
no, that's when I was speaking about fun fights and stuff like that. Pearl was what popped into my head. Yeah. Like, I was just like,
Pearl's hilarious. And Jin, I mean, I think Jin might be more likable than Boa's sisters. Might be more likable than the secondary Amazon Lily characters.
Well, to me, the secondary Amazon character isn't the sisters. It's that buff woman and what's her name? I can't remember her name. Blondie.
Okay, yeah. I can't remember her name either. Actually, it's bothering me.
It is bothering me.
I'll try to look it up. Oh wait, it's at the start.
You're like, oh wait, it's right here.
No, it's not. I was actually looking at Nami.
Dang, even within Amazon Lily, huh? No. Shit, what was her name?
I'm looking at it right now. I still don't know what her name is.
Awkward silence.
Awkward silence. Hey, yeah, we're doing a podcast. We're supposed to be saying words right now. So
words.
You know what? I'm just gonna go on the wiki to look this up. Man, this is dumb.
I know, right?
Dumb. Anyway, yeah. I've said my piece, man. I hope you could just agree with me.
No,
just agree with me already.
Never.
Let's see.
We don't have a tiebreaker with us either. That sucks.
Right, Nick was our tiebreaker. Well, I could call him.
Put him on speaker.
Yeah, all right. Where's Nick?
Do it.
He wasn't here for the debate almost, though. He's just going to be like, this one.
Let's just ask him if he remembers the Island of Women and if he remembers food.
Right. I feel like if we have any listeners, we are so losing all those people right now.
We basically lost them. Okay, I'm just going to say this. I think Amazon Lily, I kind of have to put it above the Brody.
Okay.
And you think that the Brody would be above Amazon Lily?
I do. So that's where we are stuck right now.
So we apologize, everyone.
Yeah, this is clunky as shit. I'm really sorry. If we edited this at all, we would probably edit this part up a lot. Make it cleaner and prettier. Hey, man, I'm doing the podcast right now, and last time you were the tiebreaker. Nick, you there? Last time you were the tiebreaker when we were ranking the arcs. So which one do you like better between Amazon Lily and the Barati? Yes!
Damn it!
Ah! Thanks, Nick. You have a good night. I love you. Much kisses. Mwah. Fuck yes! I win.
Fine then.
Ah!
Whatever.
Okay, tiebreaker. It's official. Barati. Okay, well, now the question is, do we like Amazon Lily more than Little Garden? And kind of going over the fine details and the stronger points of Amazon Lily, I kind of say I do. I think it's the stronger arc.
Probably,
I
yeah.
feel like it's just,
I think it's...
I feel like it has more emotional depth, honestly.
It does.
Yeah. And,
the conflict in the arc is much more meaningful than the conflict in Little Garden 2.
and even the characters that feel almost like they could be contained within the arc, they go on to have greater importance.
Yeah.
Bo is much more important than fucking Mr. 3. So, I mean,
I don't know.
I like Mr. 3.
He did help Luffy fight against Magellan the second time.
I like me some Galdino. He actually is the one that released Ace.
Yeah.
so you can make a case.
So come on, man. So he's pretty important.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's true.
But I mean, like what is it? Miss Golden Week? Not very important, except for outside of side stories. What are the Dory and Brogy? We haven't seen much of them. Like they were important in helping Usopp win over. What were their names? The other two giants in Enya's lobby.
Yeah.
But
and they could have relevance when we hit Elbaf. Like they really could. We don't know.
Yeah, but as it stands right now, I think Amazon Lily is the stronger arc.
I would agree. And
both.
And honestly, Amazon or Little Garden is a lot of fun, but Amazon Lily is a really strong arc.
Yeah,
it's a pretty. I mean, honestly, I think I might enjoy the read better of Little Garden, but I think Amazon Lily is just more important. It's probably better written.
Yeah.
The even the setting is probably better. I mean, the setting of Little Garden is really good, but I think the setting might even be better for Amazon Lily.
I don't know, man. Dinosaurs.
That's true.
Dinosaurs.
I don't know. You're right. That's a good.
So do you want to say the dinosaurs beats out?
I really don't. I think that's our placement for Amazon
Okay.
Lily. Right below the Barati, right ahead of Little Garden.
Ah, you dick.
I'm sorry. You know, I just got to win all the time. So, okay, that's where we are, everybody. We will update the list on Facebook if you'd like to go check that out. We are now going to pick out of a hat to figure out the next arc that we will be doing next week. Next week.
Right.
I swears it.
We promise. We're sorry that life happens, but life happened.
Life happens, everybody. All right. I got a lot more time on my hands lately. Okay.
All right, let's see what this one is. Alabasta.
Ooh, okay.
I almost don't want to talk about it.
Damn. Well, we had to get to it.
Well, I'm going to pick another one, just in case. If it's better. Twin Capes.
Okay. We could probably do both of those, because Twin Capes ain't nothing. So,
I was hoping it would be a bigger arc that I could replace Alabasta with.
Okay. You know what? Arabasta's so big that I think we should just do it, but Twin Capes is so small that we could probably do both. So those will be the two arcs that we do next week.
Twin Capes and Alabasta.
Oh my god, that is going to be a really hard one to place. Because I both love it and I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
So,
that's basically why I was just like, let's just do this later.
Yeah.
Can I pick another one?
No, dude.
And replace
Come on.
it?
No, that's you were belittling the importance of the hat.
Damn it.
Yeah, okay, well, those are the two arcs we'll be doing next week. I'm fine with that.
Dude, we could probably do Twin Capes right now. That's how small it is.
Oh, shit. We're running almost at 2 hours right now.
I know.
So we should probably stop.
We should.
And we haven't skimmed through Twin Capes just to kind of figure it out. Anyway.
I think Twin Cape, my preemptive ranking is that it's better than Whiskey Peak. And probably below Little Garden.
I actually don't know if it's better than Whiskey Peak. We'll have to figure that out next week.
I think it's better. I think it's going to be somewhere, like, I think it's going to be below Little Garden, but higher than Whiskey Peak.
It's going to be towards the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
We'll agree on that. Arabasta is going to be the tough one to place because it's
somewhere
undeniably one of the best arcs in One Piece, and also we're both kind of tired of it. So yeah, we'll see when we get there. Anyway, that'll be next week, everybody. I had a good time. Robert had a good time. Everybody had a good time. Thank you so much if you actually listened to this. Please comment, like, subscribe. Go on our Facebook.
Give us some more feedback so that we don't end up in these awkward silences at the end again.
I'm so sorry. If you listen to this, you are a saint, and I want to give you a blowy. Anyway.
All right, everybody, enjoy.
You guys have a good night. Later. Bye.
See ya.